Is Jordan next? Is Jordan the next country that is in danger of falling? We just saw the fall of Bashar al-Assad, the dictator of Syria, as radical Islamist terrorists have stormed in, first in Aleppo, then in Homs, then in Damascus, and Bashar al-Assad had to flee. Where did he go? He went to Moscow, and he escaped to his Russian benefactor because radical Islamists wanted to take over Syria. And the question is Jordan next? Do radical Islamist terrorists want to storm into Amman? Do they want to take over the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, possibly with Iranian help? Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of All Israel News, but also All Arab News. And I'm here on Mount Scopus, right next to the Mount of Olives, overlooking what the world calls the West Bank, what Israelis call Judea and Samaria. But behind me, you're looking at Jordan. You're looking at the Kingdom of Jordan. And I've been there many times. I love the Kingdom of Jordan. I've had the great joy and honor of getting to know and spend quite a bit of time with the King of Jordan, King Abdullah II, who is a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, and is the main, most important moderate Muslim leader in the Arab world. He's fiercely loyal and loving to his people, the 10 million or so people that are Jordanian citizens, many of whom are Palestinian origin. Many Palestinians who fled from the Arab-Israeli wars of 1948 and 67 and moved to Jordan because they wanted to live in an Arab society. They didn't want to be under Israeli control. They don't believe that Israel has a legitimate right to exist. They certainly don't believe in Bible prophecies or anything else, right? So there's various estimates of maybe upwards of 60, 70, some people say 75% of Jordanians are Palestinians. So the queen herself is a Palestinian. The children of the king are Palestinians, and so this is a very sensitive issue. The war, all the challenges that we've seen over the last 15 months or so between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza, and obviously the tensions on the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and so forth. So the big question now is, and All Israel News just did a story on it. We've been covering it from various angles, but this is a big question right now, and that is this. Are radical Islamist terrorists trying to take over that beautiful kingdom, the Kingdom of Jordan? I wrote about this, of course, in a series of political thrillers. It was a trilogy. The Third Target was the first in the series. Why did I call that novel The Third Target? Because it's about ISIS, the Islamic State, those apocalyptic, genocidal, radical Islamists. They, in the Third Target, they are trying to take over Syria. They're trying to topple Assad, but Syria is only their second target, right? ISIS is the Islamic State, but it started off as the focus was on Iraq, right? The ISIS began as Al-Qaeda in Iraq. They wanted to get rid of the U.S. presence, military and civilian presence in Iraq. Then they wanted to take over Iraq. Then they wanted to take over Syria. And then the question was, what's their third target? What's the third target of these radical Islamist terrorists? Now, obviously, they would love to destroy the United States. That's the great Satan. We all know that. And they would love to destroy and take over Israel, which is the little Satan in their view. The question is, would they aim that high that quickly? And in my assessment, no. The next target after Iraq and Syria would be Jordan. Now, that's not my own view. That's what they say. I've written extensively about this, but and I've also met with key Jordanian intelligence officials, and of course the foreign minister, and of course the Jordanian prime minister. Not of course, I mean God opened these doors for me to be able to have these conversations, and ultimately the king himself in multiple conversations over a number of years. And they believe that the radical Islamists, certainly those who are affiliated with ISIS, they want to take over the kingdom of Jordan. And King Abdullah is determined never to let that happen. I believe that's why he invited me to come, because in my novel, The Third Target, the ISIS forces and forces related to ISIS, even if they weren't technically part of ISIS, they want to storm through Jordan. They want to take over. They want to kill the Hashemite family. They want to kill the royal family. They want to take over Jordan, and they want Jordan to be a radical Islamist as part of the caliphate, right? They want it to be part of the caliphate, and Iran has the same interest. Now, ISIS is a Sunni radical jihadist organization. Obviously, the Iranian regime are Shias. So they have different theological views, but they have the same political objective. They want to take over the whole region, but Jordan is a key element. And King Abdullah is our friend. King Abdullah is the moderate, the stable, the sensible, the wise, longest serving leader in the Arab world. He is a man who has maintained the peace treaty with Israel, even though a lot of Jordanians, Palestinian Jordanians particularly, don't want Jordan to have a peace treaty with Israel. Now, they don't want to descend into the chaos that is Syria. They don't want to descend into the chaos that is Afghanistan or Yemen or Libya, but they don't love Israel. They hate Israel, and they don't want peace with Israel. Now, I'm not saying that's true of all Jordanians. Many Jordanians want peace. They don't love Israel, but they want peace. They want stability. They want prosperity even. They want to be a normal country and a healthy country, and God bless them. But there are people who have, deep personal pain from the Arab-Israeli wars over the last, 80 some years, and it's last 100 years if you go pre-Israel and you talk about the Jewish-Arab conflict in this region for much of the last century. So this is a big issue that many Palestinians, many Jordanians don't want peace with Israel, but they don't actually want war with Israel. The challenge is the jihadists. The jihadists who they do want war with Israel, but they want to take over Jordan first. And that's why I wrote this novel, The Third Target, and followed by The First Hostage, and then Without Warning. That was the trilogy. And that's the series that King Abdullah of Jordan, King Abdullah read that series. And in reading one of the first novels that he read of mine was why he invited me to get to know him. And I, of course we disagree theologically. He's a Muslim. I'm an evangelical follower of Jesus. We disagree on a number of issues, but I have great respect for him, and I'm concerned for him. I have described King Abdullah as, because of the precarious situation he's in, the precarious region he's in, but the fact that radical Islamist forces and the Islamic Republic of Iran, they are gunning for him. They want King Abdullah to fall. They don't want King Abdullah to be there because he's moderate. He's a Muslim, but he's a moderate. And he believes in stability, and he believes in modernity, and he believes in a good working relationship with the West, particularly with the United States, who's his main ally. The king has severe and significant and important disagreements with Israel, especially about the conduct of this war. But he wants peace with Israel. He doesn't want an explosion, and he doesn't want chaos, and he wants his country to thrive, not just survive. And these are key issues. So I've described King Abdullah, particularly in my book, Enemies and Allies. And I've done it on the pages of all Arab news and all Israel news. But I described King Abdullah as a man sitting on a volcano, surrounded by a forest fire, fearing an earthquake. And right now there's a rising sense of concern in Jordan, and certainly here in Israel, as well as in the United States, that Jordan could be next. I'm not saying Jordan's going to fall. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm saying Jordan as a target, Jordan as the object of the lust of these radical Islamist terrorists, whether they be ISIS, Al-Qaeda elements, other, HTS, the group in Syria, and the Iranian regime. And so it's very important that you understand that King Abdullah and his family and his country, the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan, are in danger. Now, I don't want to overstate it, but I don't want to understate it either. And that's why I want to do this analysis. And we're going to be doing more writing, covering, and we're going to be doing more videos about the challenges facing Iran. I can tell you, I met recently with a very senior Israeli official who has a great love and affection for the king and a great admiration for the country. Obviously, he would have disagreements with the king and the parliament and others in Jordan on various issues, including the war in Gaza. Obviously, that's not news. But he and other Israeli officials I've talked to, both at senior levels and maybe more mid levels, they're concerned right now because Jordan is such a friend. It's such an important element of the security architecture of this region. You do not want to see Jordan fall. If Jordan falls, God forbid, all hell will break loose in this region. And so this is something that the new Trump administration is going to have to deal with as they deal with their own foreign policy related to the region, and particularly the Middle East. Incoming Secretary of State Marco Rubio is going to need to focus on this, and Israel has to focus, because Israel has a great interest in recognizing that they can't look or feel or be seen as too close to Jordan's leaders, especially the king. But they need to work with him. They want to work with him. They want to make sure he is strong, that he is in charge, and that the jihadists don't take over. I'll just say one other thing. There's always the concern that there could be an internal uprising, right? Like the Arab Spring. How did Hosni Mubarak, the president of Egypt for decades, how did he fall? Not by an external force, but by radical Islamists from inside Egypt, right? The Muslim Brotherhood. And that's what Assad was trying to suppress, was internal opposition to him, and that's what. But Assad, at least Mubarak, took an honorable way forward, and he resigned. He stepped down, and he let democracy take its course in Egypt. But Assad didn't. He ended up setting into motion the Syrian civil war, which led to the deaths of more than 500,000 Syrians, and more than 10 million Syrian refugees, internally displaced refugees, and millions of refugees that's poured into Jordan, into Lebanon, and into other countries in the region, and including Syrian refugees in Europe, and even some in the United States. So there is in addition to external threats like HTS, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, external threats to Jordan's stability, and the threat of the Iranian regime, which would love, now that they've lost control over Lebanon because Hezbollah has been decimated, and they are losing control over Syria because Assad is gone, they would love to take over the kingdom of Jordan. And so that's something we need to pray does not ever happen. But there's also the concern of internal uprising. And now Jordan's security forces are excellent. Their internal security is excellent. And I'm going to deal with, and I'm going to talk more about Jordan's strengths, its weaknesses too. It's got high unemployment. It doesn't have oil. It doesn't have natural gas. It has to buy energy from Israel, and at the government level wants to. At the people level, they don't want it because they don't want to be dependent on Israel. There's a lot of challenges. Youth unemployment's very high. These are all big challenges, but because of the tensions and the climate, economically, politically, the Muslim Brotherhood is rising in influence in Jordan. Okay, there were recent elections in Jordan, parliamentary elections. Yes, it's still a monarchy, just to be clear. It's still a monarchy, but it's a monarchy that allows for a prime minister and for election of national leaders and local leaders. The king is like the grandfather of the country, and make sure everything's going well. But day-to-day activities and decisions can be made by the parliament and by the prime minister and his government. So, but there was a real problem. In this past year or so, the Muslim Brotherhood really rose to prominence. The Muslim Brotherhood was once outlawed in Jordan, but they have been legalized as sort of a release valve, so that people feel like if they want to support the Muslim Brotherhood, that they have at least the opportunity to do it. The king makes sure it doesn't get out of hand. But my point here is this: the Muslim Brotherhood won a huge number of seats in the parliament in the last elections in Jordan, so many that the Muslim Brotherhood faction is now the largest faction in the Jordanian parliament. That is telling us something, and it's not good. It's telling us that the forces that are Islamist, that that hate Israel and honestly hate America and are a real threat to the king and to stability in this region. Those forces are rising. And I have a concern. I'll say this. My concern is that when I say that the king is sitting on a volcano, surrounded by a forest fire, fearing an earthquake, there is a real risk that October 7th, 2023, the invasion of Israel by Hamas, set into motion the earthquake. That the ripple effects, the aftershocks of that initial earthquake on October 7th are clearly having reverberations all throughout the region. The region is on fire. Iran is losing, but it is looking for new wins. The radical Islamists have just won in Syria, overthrowing Assad. And so this rising sentiment inside Jordan, it codified, or let's say exemplified, personified by the rise of the Muslim Brotherhood in the parliament. That's a real problem. And it tells us that the Jordanian society is going in a dangerous direction. Now, I trust the king. And I want you to be praying for the king, for his family, for his advisors, and for all the people of Jordan, that God would have mercy on that country. It's a biblical country. It's the other side of the Holy Land, right? It's where the children of Israel came through. Mount Nebo is right over there. I've been there, and I'd like to take you there sometime as well. But anyway, I wanted to give you this report as there are growing signals of concern. Not immediately, not fear, but concern that Jordan could be next on the target list of the radical Islamists in the region and of the Iranian regime. And I want you to keep an eye on that. And that's why I'm bringing it to your attention on All Arab News, All Israel News. And this is Joel Rosenberg overlooking Jordan from Jerusalem, from Mount Scopus, just overlooking Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, as the world knows it, and overlooking the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. This is Joel Rosenberg for All Israel News, All Arab News. Please keep praying for Jordan.